Thermal imaging painted the world in shades of green and gray. Through the scope, a figure moved across the compound. 800 meters, wind negligible, temperature dropping. Sarah Cross held her breath, finger resting on the trigger. Not pulling, not yet. The voice crackled through her earpiece. Male, controlled, urgent. You pull that trigger, 200 people die. She didn't move, didn't blink. The crosshairs held steady on the target's center mass. They die anyway if I don't, she whispered back. The figure stopped, turned, as if sensing the invisible line connecting rifle to flesh. Sarah's pulse steadied, heart rate dropping, the way it always did in the seconds before a shot. Her finger tightened, a fraction of pressure. That's all it would take. Sarah, listen to me. She closed her eyes, opened them. The target remained. I'm listening, she said, but I'm not stopping. The world held its breath, then cut to black. 36 hours earlier, the desert night pressed against Coldwater Station like a living thing. Sarah Cross sat in the observation tower, third watch, scanning the horizon through her night vision scope. The base sprawled below her, 90 personnel, mix of Army, CIA, contractors, all here for one reason. Tomorrow morning, a cartel convoy would cross the border carrying stolen American weapons. Intelligence said 12 Javelin anti-tank missiles, the kind of hardware that could take down aircraft, blow through armored vehicles, turn a city block into rubble. Sarah's job was simple: provide overwatch, make sure the interdiction went smooth. No surprises, no casualties. She'd been at Coldwater for 6 weeks, long enough to know the rhythms, guard rotations, shift changes, the way the wind carried sounds across the desert at night, long enough to know when something felt wrong. At 0300 hours, movement caught her eye. Restricted area, Bunker 6, storage facility for weapons awaiting disposal. Nothing scheduled. The duty roster showed that sector inactive until dawn. Sarah adjusted her scope. Thermal imaging revealed 3 figures, loading crates into an unmarked truck. She zoomed closer, recognized the team leader immediately. Mitchell Kane, CIA paramilitary, 45 years old, 20 years in the field. Sarah's direct supervisor for this operation, the man who'd briefed her on the convoy intercept, the man who signed her deployment orders, loading crates that weren't supposed to move. Sarah keyed her radio. Tower to TOC, activity at Bunker 6, confirm authorization. Static, then a different voice. Army, clipped, professional. TOC actual, negative activity scheduled. Identify personnel. Sarah watched Kane through the scope. He moved with purpose. No hesitation, like a man following orders. But whose orders? Stand by for visual confirmation, she said. She pulled back from the scope, scanned the compound. The Tactical Operations Center sat dark except for the glow of monitors. Whoever was running TOC tonight didn't know about Kane's movement. That meant either Kane was unauthorized or he was running something so black even base command wasn't read in. Sarah made a decision. She rappelled from the tower, silent, fast, using shadows and blind spots she'd memorized over 6 weeks. Her rifle stayed slung across her back, sidearm holstered. This was reconnaissance, not engagement. The bunker sat 200 meters from the tower. She covered the distance in 4 minutes, staying low, using terrain. The skills earned through 12 years in the Marine Corps, 2 deployments, 37 confirmed kills in combat, a Purple Heart she never talked about. She reached the bunkers or perimeter. Concrete walls, single access point, guard post empty. That alone raised flags. Bunkers like this required 24-hour security. Someone had pulled the guards. Through a gap in the door, Sarah saw Kane directing 2 contractors, both armed, both moving with military precision. They loaded crates stamped with government markings. She used her scope to read the serial numbers. Her blood went cold. Javelin missiles. The same shipment supposed to be destroyed tomorrow after the cartel interdiction. Supposed to be accounted for, inventoried, then rendered inert by explosive ordnance disposal. But Kane was moving them at 3 in the morning with no guards, no oversight, no witnesses. Sarah pulled back, keyed her radio to a secure frequency, not the base net, a direct line to her handler at Joint Special Operations Command. Before she could transmit, Kane's voice cut through the night. I know you're there. Sarah froze, hand on her sidearm. Step out where I can see you, Gunny. That's an order. She calculated options. 2 contractors. Kane, all armed, all trained. She had surprise and superior position. Could disappear into the desert, But that meant abandoning the investigation, letting Kane move those weapons without knowing where or why. Sarah stepped into the light, hands visible, rifle slung, non-threatening but ready. Kane stood framed in the bunker doorway. He didn't draw his weapon, didn't signal the contractors, just looked at her with the expression of a man who'd expected this. "You're off your post," he said. "I observed unauthorized activity, investigated per SOP." "SOP?" Kane smiled, no warmth in it. "You think this is unauthorized?" "I think loading classified weapons at 0300 without guard detail looks unauthorized." The contractors moved, flanking positions, not overtly hostile, just professional, cutting off escape routes. Kane stepped closer, his voice dropped. Not threatening, almost conversational. "Gunny Cross, you have an exemplary service record. Scout sniper, combat proven, the kind of Marine we need, the kind who follows orders and doesn't ask questions." "I follow lawful orders, sir. This doesn't look lawful." "That's because you don't have the clearance to know what lawful looks like at this level." Kane's eyes hardened. "You didn't see this? You didn't see me. You go back to your tower. You finish your watch. Tomorrow morning, the convoy operation proceeds as briefed. You do your job." And none of this conversation happened. Sarah held his gaze. "And if I report this? To who? Your chain of command? I am your chain of command. Base security? They answer to me. JSOC? They sent you here based on my request." Kane gestured to the contractors. "You're a good Marine, Gunny. Don't make this complicated." The contractors closed in, not threatening, just present. A reminder that 3 against 1 ended only one way if it came to violence. Sarah backed away, hands still visible, eyes on Kane. "Understood, sir." She turned, walked into darkness, felt their eyes tracking her every step. Didn't run, didn't rush, just moved with the calm of someone who'd made their decision and would live with the consequences. When she reached the shadows beyond the bunker lights, she broke into a run. The barracks sat quiet, 0330. Most personnel asleep. Sarah moved through the darkness to her bunk, grabbed her secure comm unit, encrypted satellite phone, the kind that bypassed base infrastructure, connected directly to JSOC through channels that couldn't be intercepted. She typed the message fast, coded, professional. "Observe possible weapons diversion. Request guidance, cross." She hit send, watched the encryption cycle, message transmitted. Now she waited. The bunk across from her belonged to a contractor named Ellis, security specialist, former Army Ranger. He stirred but didn't wake. Sarah sat in the darkness, rifle within reach, eyes on the door. 30 minutes passed, the kind of time that stretched, where every sound became a threat. Every shadow held possibilities. The comm unit vibrated. Message received. Sarah opened it, read the words 3 times, didn't believe them the first 2. "Stand down. Do not engage. Do not report to local command. Await further orders. Hayes." Colonel Hayes, her JSOC handler, the man who'd recruited her for this assignment, the man who'd promised her this was straightforward. "Interdict the convoy. Secure the weapons. Go home." Sarah typed back. "Request clarification. Weapons moving in 6 hours." She watched the screen. Seconds ticked by. A minute. 2 minutes. The response came. "You heard the order, Gunny. Stand down." That was it. No explanation, no context, just orders to ignore what she'd seen. Let Kane move those missiles without interference. Sarah stared at the screen. Her mind raced through possibilities. Maybe Kane was authorized. Maybe this was part of the operation she wasn't cleared for. Maybe standing down was the right call. She looked at the photo taped inside her footlocker. Her team, Afghanistan, 8 Marines, 3 years ago, before the mission that went wrong, before she followed orders that felt wrong but came from authority, before she watched good people die because someone up the chain decided rules didn't apply. She'd made a promise that day. Never again. Never follow orders that violated the oath. Never let chain of command override conscience. Sarah deleted the message thread, powered down the comm unit, made her decision. She was going to disobey. 400 miles away, Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Reeves woke to his phone buzzing. Not the normal ringtone, the priority alert, the one that meant someone high up the chain needed him immediately. He checked the screen. Encrypted message. Eyes only. Daniel sat up. Read the message twice. His stomach tightened. "Rogue operator on base. Female. Sniper qualified. Attempting to sabotage classified operation. Locate and detain." Lethal force authorized if resists. Attached was a photo, grainy, taken from security footage. A woman in marine utilities, face partially obscured. But the posture, the way she carried her rifle, spoke of training, competence. Daniel pulled up her service record. The name attached to the photo, Gunnery Sergeant Sarah Cross, 34 years old, 12 years Marine Corps, scout sniper, 2 combat deployments, Purple Heart, Bronze Star, 37 confirmed kills. Her record read like a recruiting poster. Exemplary marks, flawless fitness scores, commendations from every commanding officer. The kind of Marine who made the Corps look good. And now someone was calling her rogue. Daniel read the message again. Attempting to sabotage classified operation. No details, no explanation, just orders to hunt down a decorated Marine and detain her, with authorization for lethal force. He got dressed. Combat utilities, body armor, sidearm. Moved through the darkness of Coldwater Station toward the Tactical Operations Center. As Base XO executive officer, he had authority over all security operations. If there was a rogue operator on his base, he needed to know why. And he needed to know what operation she was supposedly sabotaging. The TOC sat in the center of the compound. Reinforced concrete, secure communications, 24-hour staffing. Daniel entered using his biometric credentials. The watch officer looked up. Sir, wasn't expecting you. Got a priority alert. Possible security threat. What's our status? The watch officer pulled up the logs. Quiet night. Guard rotations normal. No incidents reported. Check Bunker 6. Any activity? The officer typed, frowned. Logs show secure. No access since 1900 yesterday. Daniel leaned over the screen. Pull the security footage. Last 4 hours. The footage loaded, showed the bunker exterior. Empty. No movement. Timestamp read 0100 through 0400 current. Nothing, sir. But Daniel's instincts said otherwise. He'd spent 15 years in Army intelligence before transferring to command, learned to read patterns, anomalies, the things that didn't fit. Who had Bunker 6 access yesterday? Team Leader Kane, CIA, routine inspection. Kane. Daniel knew the name. CIA paramilitary, running the convoy interdiction operation. High clearance. Black operations background. The kind of operator who moved in circles Daniel wasn't cleared for. Where's Gunnery Sergeant Cross right now? The watch officer checked the personnel tracker. Barracks, logged off watch at 0300. Should be sleeping. Should be. Daniel grabbed his radio. Security Team Alpha, this is Reeves. Converge on female barracks. Low profile. Locate Gunnery Sergeant Cross. Reporter status. Do not engage. He waited. Watched the clock. 3 minutes. The radio crackled. Alpha led. Barracks secure. Cross's bunk is empty. Gear missing. Last seen by witness heading toward the perimeter. Daniel felt the pieces clicking. A decorated Marine, called rogue, heading toward the perimeter. After someone alleged she was sabotaging an operation. Pull security logs, perimeter sensors, last hour. The watch officer worked fast. Multiple triggers, Sector 7 near the motor pool. The motor pool, where vehicles staged for operations. Where Kane's team would keep their transport for tomorrow's convoy interdiction. Daniel grabbed his rifle. I need a security team. Full kit, now. Sir, what's the threat level? Daniel thought about the message. Lethal force authorized. Thought about Sarah Cross's record. 37 confirmed kills. Sniper qualified. If she was hunting something, she was doing it with precision. Elevated, he said, but approach with caution. She's one of ours until proven otherwise. Sarah moved through the motor pool like smoke. 6 vehicles, 4 Humvees, 2 5-ton trucks, all staged for operations. She knew which one belonged to Kane's team, had watched them prep it during the day shift. Black Suburban, civilian plates. The kind of vehicle that blended. That didn't scream military. That could move through checkpoints without raising flags. She approached from the blind spot. Cameras covered the motor pool, but she'd mapped their coverage. Knew the gaps, used them. The Suburban sat locked, alarmed. But Sarah had tools, lock picks from her kit. The skills learned during a course at Quantico. Advanced entry techniques. The kind they taught to reconnaissance Marines who might need to access enemy vehicles without detection. She worked in silence. 30 seconds. The lock popped. She opened the door slow. Alarm didn't trigger. Kane's team had disabled it for easy access during operations. Sarah slid underneath the vehicle, pulled a small LED light, examined the undercarriage. Standard configuration. Fuel tank. Drivetrain, nothing unusual. She moved to the fuel line, pulled a knife, made a precise cut, not large, just enough to create a slow leak, the kind that wouldn't be noticed until the vehicle ran dry. She pulled a GPS tracker from her pocket, military grade, the kind that transmitted on encrypted frequencies, placed it inside the wheel well, magnetic mount, invisible unless someone knew to look. Footsteps. Sarah froze. Two guards, approaching, talking about the upcoming mission. Their voices carried in the still air. Kane says we roll at 06, hit the convoy at the border. Easy money, in and out, Javelin secured, home by breakfast. They stopped 10 feet from the Suburban. Sarah remained motionless under the vehicle, barely breathing, the concrete cold against her back. One guard lit a cigarette. The other leaned against the Suburban's bumper. The vehicle rocked slightly. Sarah felt it compress above her. You think this is really about the cartel? The first guard said. Above my pay grade. Kane says go, we go. Yeah, but midnight prep, moving weapons at 03? That's not standard. Nothing about Kane is standard. Guy's been running black ops since before we enlisted. He says it's legit. It's legit. They stood there, smoking, talking. Minutes stretched. Sarah's muscles screamed from holding position, but she didn't move, didn't shift. The discipline of a sniper, the ability to become part of the environment. Finally, the guards moved on, their footsteps fading. Sarah waited, counted to 100, slid out from under the Suburban, closed the door, disappeared into shadows. She reached the perimeter fence, pulled herself over, dropped into the desert beyond, moved 200 meters out, found a position with clear sight lines to the motor pool, set up her rifle, settled into a hide, waited. At 0500, lights came on in the motor pool. Kane's team arrived. 8 personnel, loading gear into vehicles, checking weapons, prepped for the convoy intercept. Kane walked to the Suburban, opened the door, climbed in, started the engine. Sarah watched through her scope, saw him check the fuel gauge, saw his expression change. He climbed out, walked to the rear, knelt down. Even from 200 meters, Sarah could read his body language. Fury. He'd found the leak. Kane pulled his phone, made a call. Sarah couldn't hear the words, but she read his lips. Close enough. She knows she's been here. He scanned the desert, as if sensing her eyes on him. Sarah didn't move. Her hide was perfect, invisible in the pre-dawn darkness. Kane spoke into the phone again. This time Sarah caught fragments through the parabolic microphone she'd set up. Moving the timeline. Shipment leaves in 2 hours, not 6. We can't wait. He paused, listening. If she reports this, the whole network burns. Network. That word hung in the air. This wasn't about one weapons shipment. This was bigger. Kane's next words made Sarah's blood freeze. Standing authorization to eliminate threats to operational security. She's a threat. Handle it. Sarah pulled back from her scope. Kane had just ordered her death for discovering his weapons movement, for asking questions. That confirmed everything. This wasn't authorized. This was criminal. And Kane had enough pull to issue kill orders. She packed her gear fast, moved deeper into the desert, needed distance, needed time to think. Behind her, vehicle engines roared to life. Not just the Suburban, multiple units, a search grid forming. They were coming for her. Daniel Reeves reached the motor pool at 0530, found Kane's team in full mobilization. 8 operators, armed, loading into vehicles with the intensity of a combat deployment. Kane stood at the center, issuing orders. When he saw Daniel, his expression shifted. Friendly, professional, like nothing was wrong. Colonel Reeves, didn't expect to see you up this early. Daniel noted the activity, the weapons, the urgency. Got a report about a security situation, rogue operator, supposedly sabotaging your operation. Kane nodded. We're handling it. Marine sniper, went off the reservation. We're bringing her in. Gunnery Sergeant Cross. That's right, you know her? Know her record. Exemplary. Which makes me wonder what she did to warrant lethal force authorization. Kane's smile didn't reach his eyes. She interfered with a classified operation. That's all you need to know. I'm Base XO. I need to know more than that. Your clearance doesn't cover this operation, Colonel. Now, if you'll excuse me, we have a fugitive to apprehend. Daniel stepped closer, lowered his voice. What operation is she interfering with? The convoy intercept? Because that's scheduled for 0900. So why are you mobilizing now? Kane's jaw tightened. Timeline changed. Operational security, you understand. I understand you're launching a manhunt without briefing base command. I understand you're moving weapons at unusual hours. I understand that decorated Marines don't go rogue without reason. Are you questioning my authority? I'm questioning the situation, as is my job. Kane stared at him, the calculation clear in his eyes. Could he intimidate Daniel? Could he pull rank? Could he make this problem go away? Finally, Kane spoke. Talk to your handler, Colonel Garrett, DOD oversight. He'll explain why you need to stay out of this. He turned away, climbed into a Humvee. The convoy rolled out. 8 vehicles, heading into the desert, hunting one Marine. Daniel pulled his phone, called his contact at Army Intelligence. The call went to voicemail. He tried again. Same result. He walked to the TOC, accessed the security system, pulled footage from Bunker 6, the footage that supposedly showed nothing. But Daniel knew how to read metadata, timestamps, file sizes, and the footage had been edited. 4 hours of recording compressed to show inactivity. Someone had scrubbed it. He pulled up the original files, the ones stored on the backup server, the ones most people didn't know existed. The real footage loaded. It showed Kane, 2 contractors, loading crates into a truck, 0300, exactly when Sarah Cross was supposed to be on watch in the tower. Daniel counted the crates, checked them against the inventory manifest. Something felt wrong. He accessed the bunker inventory system, pulled the records for Javelin missiles, the shipment scheduled for destruction after tomorrow's convoy intercept. The manifest listed 12 missiles, standard loadout for the cartel shipment they were supposed to interdict. But the security footage showed Kane loading 20 crates, each crate containing 1 Javelin. 20 missiles, when there should only be 12. Daniel felt his chest tighten. Kane wasn't just moving the authorized weapons, he was moving extras, weapons that shouldn't exist on paper, that someone had hidden in the inventory. And Sarah Cross had seen it, had reported it, had been branded rogue for discovering the truth. Daniel grabbed his radio. Security Team Bravo, this is Reeves. I need a vehicle, full comms package, and someone who can track a personnel beacon. Sir, what's the mission? Daniel looked at the desert, at the dust trails from Kane's convoy, at the truth spreading across his monitor. We're finding Gunnery Sergeant Cross before Kane does, and we're bringing her in alive. He grabbed his gear, moved toward the motor pool, stopped when he saw the note. Taped to his vehicle windshield, handwritten, block letters. Check bunker inventory. Compare to Operation Manifest. Ask why the numbers don't match. No signature, but Daniel knew who'd left it. Sarah Cross had known Kane would come for her, had known she'd need help, and had chosen the one person on base with authority to question what was happening. She'd chosen him. Daniel climbed into his vehicle, started the engine, keyed his radio. Bravo, lad. We're rolling. Track all transmissions from Kane's convoy. I want their position updated every 30 seconds. And someone get me Colonel Garrett on secure comms. Tell him we have a situation that requires immediate clarification. The response came back. Sir, Garrett's office says he's unavailable. No ETA for contact. Daniel's hands tightened on the wheel. Unavailable. Right when Daniel needed answers about a rogue Marine and missing weapons. That wasn't coincidence, that was pattern. He pulled out his phone, typed a message on a civilian app, not the military network, not anything Kane or Garrett could monitor. The message went to Sarah's personal number, the one from her service record. I saw the footage. I know about the extra missiles. Kane is hunting you. I can help. Respond if safe. Reeves. He hit send. Watch the status. Message delivered. He waited. 1 minute, 2, 5. No response. Daniel started driving, following the dust trails into the desert, knowing he was stepping into something bigger than a rogue Marine, bigger than a weapons shipment. He was stepping into a conspiracy, and the only person who knew the full truth was running for her life. Somewhere in the darkness ahead, Sarah Cross was fighting to survive, fighting to expose the truth, fighting against her own chain of command. And Daniel had just chosen a side. The sun began rising over Coldwater Station, painting the desert in shades of gold and red. Beautiful, deceptive, like everything else about this place. Behind the beauty, people were hunting, people were lying, and somewhere in the equation, weapons that could kill hundreds were disappearing into the shadows. Sarah had 36 hours to stop it. 36 hours before the convoy intercept became cover for something worse. 36 hours before Kane's network moved those missiles beyond reach. But first, she had to survive. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction. No cover, no reinforcements. Just one Marine against an entire team. Against her own chain of command. Against orders that came from places she couldn't see. Sarah moved through the sand, rifle across her back, eyes scanning for threats, heart rate steady despite the fear. She'd made her choice. Now she'd live with the consequences, or die with them. The only question was whether Daniel Reeves would prove to be her salvation, or just another enemy in a different uniform. She wouldn't know until it was too late to run. Sarah kept moving. The sun climbed higher, the heat built, and somewhere behind her, 8 vehicles full of trained killers closed the distance. The hunt had begun. The desert stretched endless. Sarah Cross moved through it like a shadow, rifle across her back, GPS disabled, no electronic signature, just movement and instinct and 12 years of training that said survive first, question later. Behind her, 8 vehicles spread across the terrain. Search pattern, professional, the kind that closed nets and eliminated escape routes. Mitchell Kane's team knew what they were doing. They'd hunted targets across 3 continents, taken down terrorists and warlords and people who thought they could disappear. But they'd never hunted Sarah Cross. She moved through a ravine, 20 feet deep, invisible from the road. The kind of terrain feature that didn't show on satellite maps but saved lives when bullets started flying. She'd scouted this area during her first week at Coldwater, memorized every wash and ridge and dead space. The habit of a Marine who knew that knowing ground meant living through contact. Vehicle engines grew louder, closer. Sarah pressed against the ravine wall, pulled desert camouflage netting over herself, became part of the landscape. A Humvee rolled past, 50 meters above her position, thermal scanner mounted on the roof, sweeping, searching. The kind of technology that saw body heat through walls. But Sarah had learned tricks in Afghanistan. Reflective blankets, the kind that trapped heat. She'd wrapped one around herself before entering the ravine. To the thermal scanner, she was just another cold rock in a field of cold rocks. The Humvee passed, kept moving. The engine noise faded. Sarah waited, counted to 300, breathing slow, heart rate controlled, the discipline that separated living snipers from dead ones. When silence returned, she moved, deeper into the ravine, following the natural drainage toward a position she'd identified weeks ago. An abandoned mining operation, 3 miles from base, concrete structures half buried in sand, the kind of place that offered concealment and multiple exit routes. Her phone buzzed, silent mode. She checked the screen. Message from an unknown number. I saw the footage. I know about the extra missiles. Kane is hunting you. I can help. Respond if safe. Reeves. Sarah stared at the words. Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Reeves, Base XO Army intelligence background. The man who'd received orders to hunt her down with lethal force authorization. Now he was offering help. It could be a trap, could be Kane using Reeves' phone, could be a way to triangulate her position through cell signal, or it could be genuine, a by-the-book officer who'd seen evidence and chosen conscience over orders. Sarah made a decision, typed fast. Mining site, grid 3847, 1 hour, come alone. If you bring company, I disappear. She hit send, powered down the phone, removed the battery, no signal, no tracking. Then she moved toward the mining site. Rifle ready, every sense alert. Because trust was a luxury, and in her world, luxuries got you killed. Daniel Reeves read Sarah's message 3 times. Mining site, 1 hour, come alone. Every regulation said don't go. Every protocol said call it in. Every survival instinct said this was an ambush waiting to happen. But the evidence said Sarah Cross was telling the truth, and truth mattered more than protocol. He diverted from Kane's search grid, drove south, away from the main convoy. His radio stayed active, but he ignored the calls. Let them think he was checking a different sector. The mining site appeared through heat shimmer, concrete structures half collapsed, rusted equipment scattered like bones. The kind of place that screamed danger. Daniel parked 200 meters out, grabbed his rifle, moved on foot, using cover, scanning for threats. His training said assume hostile until proven otherwise. He reached the main structure, called out, Gunnery Sergeant Cross, Lieutenant Colonel Reeves, I'm here alone, as requested. Silence. Wind moving through broken walls, the sound of emptiness. Then her voice. From above, from a position he couldn't see. Weapon on the ground, step into the open, hands visible. Daniel complied, set his rifle down, stepped into the clearing between buildings, hands raised, exposed, vulnerable. Sarah appeared on a rooftop, 20 meters up, rifle trained on his center mass, her face calm, professional. The expression of someone who'd made this shot 100 times. You brought a security team, she said. Not a question, a statement. No, I came alone. Then explain the vehicle 200 meters north. The one that followed you from base. Daniel's stomach dropped. He checked his mirrors. Seen nothing. But Sarah had eyes he didn't. Training he didn't. Had spotted the tail he'd missed. I don't know about any vehicle. Sarah adjusted her scope. Black SUV, civilian plates, 2 occupants. Been shadowing you since you left the main search grid. Kane's team, or yours, prove you're not setting me up. Daniel pulled his radio, keyed it. All units, this is Reeves, report positions. Responses came back. 8 call signs, all accounted for in Kane's search grid, none near the mining site. The vehicle isn't ours, Daniel said, which means someone else is tracking this situation. Sarah's rifle didn't waver. Tell me why I should trust you. Because I checked the bunker inventory, counted the footage. Kane loaded 20 missiles. The manifest only authorizes 12. He's stealing 8. And you saw it. That's why they branded you rogue. Sarah's expression shifted, slight. But Daniel saw it, recognition, validation. Keep talking. Your service record is flawless. Purple Heart, Bronze Star, 37 confirmed kills. Marines don't build records like that by going rogue. So either you're telling the truth about what you saw, or the entire system that validated your career is broken. Maybe it is broken. Maybe, but I've spent 15 years in this system, seen good people do bad things, seen bad people hide behind authority, and I've learned to recognize the difference. Daniel lowered his hand slightly. You're not bad. You're inconvenient, and Kane needs you gone before you expose what he's doing. Sarah studied him, calculating, deciding. Finally, she lowered her rifle, climbed down from the roof, moved with the fluid grace of someone who trusted their body completely. She kept 20 feet of distance, still wary, still ready. What do you know about cold water protocol? She asked. Nothing. The name doesn't appear in any brief I've seen. That's because it's compartmented above your clearance, above mine, above everyone except a handful of people in CIA and DOD. Sarah pulled a small drive from her pocket. I got into the comm system last night, downloaded Kane's operational files. You want to know what we're really doing here? Daniel nodded. Cold Water Protocol is a long-term penetration operation. CIA has an asset embedded with a terror cell in the Middle East. Been there 18 months. Deep cover. The cell is planning attacks, vehicle bombs, mass casualties. Our asset is feeding intel but can't act without blowing cover. So we're letting them plan attacks. We're tracking them, mapping the network. When we have the complete picture, we take them all down simultaneously. Decapitate the entire organization, that's the theory. And the Javelin missiles? Part of the operation. The cell wants American weapons, prestige, proof they can strike U.S. interests. So CIA arranged a sale, controlled delivery, 12 missiles. We track them, use them to identify other cell members. Then before they can deploy the weapons, we hit them, recover the Javelins, arrest everyone involved. Daniel felt his chest tighten. We're giving terrorists anti-tank missiles. We're giving them tracked, monitored, neutered missiles that will never fire. Every Javelin has a GPS transmitter hidden in the firing mechanism. Every serial number is flagged. The moment they try to use them, we know where they are. That's insane. That's intelligence work. You sacrifice the knight to take the king. Sarah's voice hardened. But Kane saw an opportunity. Skim 8 extra missiles. Sell them to a different buyer. Black market, pocket the money, blame any inventory discrepancy on operational chaos. How do you know he has a different buyer? I heard him on the phone, setting coordinates, confirming shipment. This wasn't the language of the official operation. This was side deal, off books. Daniel processed the information. If Kane's 8 missiles aren't tracked, aren't neutered, then whoever buys them gets functional American weapons. Exactly. And when those weapons show up in the wrong hands, when civilians die, Kane just shrugs and blames operational security, says the terror cell must have moved them. No way to prove otherwise. Unless someone saw him loading the extras. Unless someone like me saw him and reported it and became a problem that needed eliminating. Sarah's jaw tightened. I called my JSOC handler, Colonel Hayes, reported what I saw. He ordered me to stand down. Don't engage. Don't report to local command. Just shut up and let it happen. Hayes is compromised? Or he's protecting the larger operation. Can't risk burning cold water over 8 missiles. Can't expose the CIA asset. So he tells me to stand down, sacrifices the 8 missiles to save the 18-month investment. Daniel understood the calculus. The cold mathematics of intelligence operations. Sometimes you accepted small losses to protect larger gains. Sometimes you let bad things happen to prevent worse things. But that didn't make it right. What about the 200 people? Daniel asked. The message I received said you were a threat. That's all, no explanation. But you mentioned 200 people in your text. Sarah pulled up a file on her phone, showed Daniel the screen. Cold water asset list. 217 IA operatives whose covers depend on this operation succeeding. If the operation burns, if the terror cell realizes they've been penetrated, they'll communicate that to other cells. Every asset on this list gets exposed. Some will escape, most won't. The math says 200 deaths minimum. Daniel stared at the names. Real people, real operators, living double lives in hostile territory. One mistake and they died screaming. So if we stop Kane, we burn the operation. 200 people die. And if we don't stop Kane, 8 Javelin missiles reach the black market. Different people die, just slower, just less visible. That's an impossible choice. That's Tuesday. Sarah powered down her phone. But I've been thinking about it. There might be a way to stop Kane without burning cold water. How? We don't stop the shipment. We stop Kane's theft. Let the official operation proceed. 12 missiles go to the CIA asset. 8 missiles stay in U.S. custody. Kane gets arrested. Cold water continues. Kane will never separate the shipments. He's moving all 20 at once. He will if we force him to. Sarah's eyes harden. I know his backup plan, I know his route, and I know how to make him abort the delivery. Daniel looked at this woman, this Marine who'd disobeyed orders to do what was right, who'd risked everything to expose corruption, who stood in the desert with a rifle and a choice and the courage to see it through. Tell me what you need. 3 hours later, Sarah crouched in a hide position overlooking Route 19. The highway ran south from Coldwater toward the Mexican border. 2 lanes, minimal traffic, perfect for moving contraband without witnesses. Kane's backup convoy would use this road. She'd found the route in his files, confirmed it through pattern analysis. He had a buyer waiting across the border. Mexican cartel middleman who'd moved the missiles to the actual purchaser. Clean, anonymous, untraceable. Except Sarah was about to make it very traceable. She'd positioned herself 600 meters from a Border Patrol checkpoint, the kind of routine inspection point that trucks pass through daily. Kane's convoy would blend with civilian traffic, just another shipment moving south. But Sarah was going to change that. Her rifle lay stable on a bipod, scope dialed to 600 meters. Wind minimal, temperature stable, perfect conditions for precision work. She watched the road through her optics, waiting, patient. The kind of patience that came from sitting in hides for 16 hours straight in Afghanistan. Watching targets, waiting for the perfect moment. Her radio crackled, Daniel's voice. He'd positioned himself at the checkpoint, had convinced the Border Patrol supervisor to increase inspection protocols. Just for the next hour, random drug interdiction emphasis, the kind of thing that happened periodically without raising suspicion. In position, Daniel transmitted. Checkpoint is expecting extra scrutiny. Any truck that shows contraband will be flagged immediately. Copy, Sarah whispered. Stand by. She scanned the horizon. Heat shimmer made distances waver. Then she saw it. Dust trail, 5 vehicles, moving fast. Kane's convoy. Sarah adjusted her breathing, slowed her heart rate, entered the zone. The place where sound faded and time stretched, and the world narrowed to crosshairs and target in the space between heartbeats. The convoy approached. Lead vehicle, standard truck, civilian configuration, perfect for blending. The kind that passed checkpoints every day without question. Kane sat in the passenger seat of the second vehicle. Sarah could see him through her scope, checking his phone, confident, certain this delivery would proceed without interference. He had no idea she was watching. The convoy reached a point 400 meters from the checkpoint. Still moving, still confident. Sarah made her shot. The round flew true, not at people, not at tires. At the cargo lock on the lead truck's rear door. The lock shattered. Doors swung open, crates visible from the checkpoint camera. Checkpoint guards saw it, saw cargo, saw something that required inspection. Lights activated, barriers deployed, guards moved to intercept. Kane's convoy had no choice. Stop for inspection or flee and confirm guilt. Sarah watched Kane through the scope, saw his expression change, fury, realization. He grabbed his radio, barked orders. The convoy stopped. began turning around, aborting the delivery. But they couldn't abort without leaving evidence. The truck with open doors, the visible crates, the checkpoint guards now approaching with inspection authority. Kane made a decision, sacrificed the lead truck, ordered it to proceed to the checkpoint alone, take the inspection, claim mechanical failure caused the doors to open. Standard cargo. Nothing suspicious. The other 4 vehicles turned around, headed back toward Coldwater. Sarah keyed her radio. Convoy aborted, 4 vehicles returning to base. Lead truck proceeding to checkpoint for inspection. Copy, Daniel responded. Border Patrol is conducting full inspection now. Minutes passed. Sarah watched through her scope, saw guards open the crates, saw their expressions change, saw them grab radios. Daniel's voice came through, tense. They found weapons, javelins, unauthorized transport of military ordnance. Truck is being impounded, driver arrested. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. That's 1 truck, 8 missiles. But Kane still has 12. He'll try to move them another way. We stopped 8. That's what matters. No, what matters is stopping all of it. And we just showed Kane we know his route. He'll adapt, change the plan, and we won't know how until it's too late. Sarah packed her rifle, moved from her position, disappeared into the desert. She'd won a battle, but the war was still unfolding. Daniel Reeves returned to Coldwater Station facing a storm. Colonel Garrett met him at the gate, face red, voice tight with barely controlled fury. What the hell happened out there, Reeves? Daniel kept his expression neutral. Border Patrol intercepted a truck carrying unauthorized weapons. I was in the area, responded to assist. Don't play stupid. That truck belonged to Kane's operation. You knew that. You interfered with a classified mission. I interfered with weapons smuggling. There's a difference. Garrett stepped closer, lowered his voice. You're out of your depth. You have no idea what you've done. Then explain it to me. Explain why Kane is moving 20 Javelin missiles when the operation only authorizes 12. Garrett's expression flickered. Surprise, quickly masked. Operational security requires excess inventory, backups, contingencies. 20 versus 12 isn't contingency. That's 50% overage. And none of those 8 extra missiles appear in any official manifest. I checked. Daniel pulled out his tablet, showed Garrett the inventory records. Someone added weapons to the shipment without documentation. Someone who had access to modify official records. Someone with authority high enough that normal oversight didn't catch it. Garrett looked at the records. His face hardened. Where did you get this information? From the system you told me I didn't have clearance to access. Turns out, as Base XO, I have override authority for inventory discrepancies. Who knew? You exceeded your authority. I executed my authority. There's a difference. Daniel closed the tablet. Now answer the question. Why are there 8 undocumented missiles? Garrett was silent for a long moment, calculating, deciding how much to reveal. Finally, he spoke. The extra missiles are for operational flexibility. If the primary delivery fails, we have backup stock. It's standard procedure for sensitive operations. Then why not document them? Because documentation creates trails. Trails create leaks. Leaks compromise operations. You should understand that. Daniel did understand, but understanding didn't mean accepting. Where's Kane now? Daniel asked. Handling damage control. Thanks to your interference, we've lost 8 missiles to Border Patrol impound. The terror cell expects delivery. If we can't provide, the asset gets exposed. 200 people die. Garrett's voice dropped. This is on you, Reeves. No, this is on whoever added 8 missiles to a 12-missile operation without authorization. Find that person, and you find your problem. Daniel turned to walk away. Garrett grabbed his arm. You're relieved of duty, effective immediately, confined to quarters pending investigation. On whose authority? Mine. And every authority above me that you've just pissed off. Garrett's grip tightened. You chose the wrong side, Colonel. And now you're going to learn what that costs. 2 security personnel appeared, armed, professional. Escort Colonel Reeves to his quarters. He's not to leave. He's not to communicate with anyone off base. Clear? Yes, sir. They took Daniel's sidearm, his radio, his phone, led him away like a criminal. As they walked, Daniel's mind raced. Garrett's reaction had been too strong, too defensive, the kind of response that came from someone protecting something bigger than operational security. Daniel had touched a nerve, and that nerve led straight to the truth. Sarah watched from the desert, saw Daniel being escorted under guard, saw him stripped of authority and weapons, saw the consequence of choosing to help her. She cost him his career, possibly his freedom, but she'd also gained something. confirmation that Garrett was involved, that his defense of Kane went beyond protecting Coldwater, went into territory that required silencing witnesses. Sarah moved through the darkness, circled the base perimeter, found the comms building, the same place she'd infiltrated before. This time, she needed something different. She needed proof, not a suspicion, not theory, actual evidence that Garrett and Kane were partners. The building sat dark, minimal security, most personnel focused on the convoy disaster, on damage control, on hunting for the rogue Marine who kept causing problems. Sarah bypassed the door lock, slipped inside, moved through hallways she'd memorized, reached the server room. The system required biometric access, fingerprint, and retinal scan. But Sarah had tools, the kind that intelligence operatives used. Synthetic fingerprints, contact lenses that spoofed retinal patterns. The technology was illegal for civilians, but standard issue for certain military units. She placed the fake fingerprint on the scanner, leaned close for retinal verification. The system accepted. Green light, access granted. Sarah pulled up Kane's communication logs, encrypted, but she had the decryption key from her earlier infiltration. Started scanning messages. Most were operational, routine. Then she found the thread she needed. Messages between Kane and an unknown number, discussing the 8 missile side deal, coordinates for delivery, payment schedules, buyer confirmation, and responses from the unknown number, authorizing the theft, providing cover, promising to handle any complications. Sarah traced the number, routed through multiple proxies designed to be untraceable. But military intelligence had tools, backdoors into telecom systems, ways to pierce anonymity. She ran the trace, waited. The system worked, peeling back layers of encryption and routing. The number resolved, registered to a Department of Defense account, assigned to a specific officer. Colonel Marcus Garrett. Sarah stared at the screen, her suspicions confirmed. Garrett wasn't protecting Kane. He was partnering with him, splitting the profits, using his DoD authority to provide cover. She downloaded the evidence. Every message, every payment record, every piece of communication that proved the conspiracy. Then alarms shrieked. Security had detected her network access. Guards were coming. Sarah grabbed the drive, ran, burst through a side exit, sprinted into darkness. Behind her, shouts, flashlights, the sound of pursuit. She'd gotten the evidence. Now she had to survive long enough to use it. Daniel sat in his quarters, under guard, stripped of authority, but not stripped of his mind. He'd been thinking about Garrett's reaction. The fury, the immediate move to silence and isolate, the pattern of someone protecting a secret. And he'd been thinking about the numbers, 20 missiles versus 12, 8 weapons moving to unauthorized buyers. The kind of theft that required inside help, someone with authority to modify inventory, someone who could order security to stand down, someone who could brand a decorated Marine as rogue without evidence, someone like Garrett. Daniel's door opened, not his guards, a communications specialist, young, nervous. "Sir, I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I thought you should know. Someone just accessed the comm system using your credentials. Security's responding. They think you're trying to communicate off base." Daniel stood. "I'm locked in here. How could I access comms?" "You couldn't, which means someone's using your credentials to cover their own access." The specialist hesitated. "Whoever it is, they're downloading classified files, Kane's operational logs." Sarah. She was inside the base, inside the system, getting evidence. "Where's security now?" Daniel asked. "Converging on the comms building. Colonel Garrett ordered shoot on sight. Said the intruder is armed and dangerous." Daniel felt cold spread through his chest. Shoot on sight for accessing files. That wasn't security protocol. That was assassination. "I need you to do something for me," Daniel said. "And if you do it, you might lose your career, but you'll save a life." The specialist swallowed. "What do you need?" "Access to base comms, 2 minutes, that's all." The specialist looked at the door, at the guards outside, at Daniel. Made a decision, pulled out a tablet, handed it to Daniel. 2 minutes, then I never saw you." Daniel typed fast. Encrypted message, sent to the number Sarah had texted from. "Garrett is Kane's partner. Evidence in comms logs. Security ordered shoot on sight. Abort mission. Extract now." He handed back the tablet. The specialist deleted all trace of the communication. Left without a word. Daniel sat in the darkness, hoping Sarah received the message, hoping she escaped, knowing that if she didn't, he just helped a Marine die. Sarah ran through the base, Guards behind her, ahead of her, closing in. Her phone buzzed. Message from Daniel. She read it while running, felt her stomach drop. Shoot on sight. Garrett's partner. She'd suspected, now she knew. And knowing meant she was more dangerous than ever. Which meant they'd never let her leave alive. Sarah changed direction, headed for the motor pool. Vehicles, mobility, a chance. She reached the parking area, found Kane's Suburban, the one she'd sabotaged earlier. Repaired now, ready for operations. She broke in, hot-wired the ignition, the engine roared to life. Gunfire erupted, rounds punching through the door. Sarah ducked, threw the vehicle into drive, stomped the accelerator. The Suburban lurched forward, crashed through the gate, alarm shrieking, searchlights tracking. Sarah drove into the desert, pedal down, pushing the engine. Behind her, pursuit vehicles activated. Her phone rang, unknown number. She answered. Kane's voice, calm, cold. Impressive, Gunny. You've caused more damage than I expected. But you're out of moves, out of places to hide. And in about 30 seconds, you're going to be out of road. Sarah looked ahead. The highway ended in a cliff face. Dead end. She spun the wheel. The Suburban went off-road, into rough terrain, bouncing, shaking apart. You can't run forever, Kane said. Eventually you'll make a mistake. And when you do, I'll be there. You made your mistake when you stole those missiles, Sarah shot back. I have the proof, the communications, the payment records, everything. Silence on the line. Then Kane laughed. Proof means nothing without someone to give it to. And everyone you could trust is either compromised or dead. Not everyone. Sarah ended the call, made a hard turn. The Suburban skidded, tires screaming. She headed for coordinates she'd memorized. A position 12 miles from base, where she'd arranged a dead drop, where she could hide the evidence even if she didn't survive. The pursuit closed in. 3 vehicles. Tactical, professional. Sarah pushed harder. The engine protested, temperature gauge climbing. She'd stolen a damaged vehicle, one that wouldn't last. But it didn't need to last forever, just long enough. The dead drop site appeared, abandoned water tower, rusted, forgotten. Sarah stopped the Suburban, grabbed the data drive, ran to the tower, climbed the external ladder. 20 feet, 40, 60. Below, Kane's team arrived, exited their vehicles, weapons raised. Cross, it's over! Come down! Sarah reached the top, found the maintenance hatch, opened it, placed the drive inside. In a waterproof container. Hidden. Safe. Even if they killed her, the evidence would survive. She looked down. Kane stood in the open, looking up, rifle aimed. Last chance, Gunny. Come down. We can work this out. Work out how you're going to prison? Prison. Kane smiled. You still think this is about justice, about right and wrong. This is about necessity, about doing what needs to be done, about understanding that sometimes the mission requires sacrifice. The mission never required stealing weapons and selling them to terrorists. The mission required of funding, operational flexibility, resources that bureaucrats wouldn't approve. So yes, I skimmed. Yes, I moved weapons. But that money funds operations that save American lives. Operations that people like you will never know about, will never appreciate, because you're too busy following rules that don't work in the real world. Sarah's hand moved to her sidearm, but 3 rifles tracked her. Any move and she died. Come down, Kane said again, or we come up. Sarah calculated. Odds, angles, survival probability. Then her phone buzzed. Text message from Daniel's number. Bunker 6, 30 minutes. Come alone, we end this. Sarah looked at the message, at Kane below, at the rifles aimed at her heart. Made her choice. I'm coming down, she said. She descended the ladder, slow, hands visible. When she reached the bottom, Kane's team grabbed her, searched her, took her weapons, her phone, everything. Kane stepped close. Where's the evidence? Safe, where you'll never find it. We'll see. He nodded to his team. Secure her. We're taking her back to base. Colonel Garrett wants to have a conversation. They bound her wrists, loaded her into a vehicle. Sarah didn't resist, didn't fight, because she'd done what needed doing, hidden the proof. And now she had to survive long enough for it to matter. As the convoy drove back toward Coldwater, Sarah watched the desert pass. Thought about Daniel's message. Bunker 6, 30 minutes. It could be a trap. Garrett using Daniel's phone to lure her in. Or it could be genuine. Daniel offering one last chance at alliance. Either way, she wouldn't make the meeting. Not as a prisoner. She looked at her captors. 3 contractors. Professional. Armed. Trained. But Sarah Cross had survived worse. had escaped tighter situations, had fought her way out of ambushes that should have killed her. This wasn't over. Not until she said it was over. The vehicle rolled on, and in the darkness, Sarah began planning her next move. Because Marines didn't quit, didn't surrender, didn't accept defeat. They adapted, they overcame, they won. And Sarah Cross intended to win, no matter what it cost. The game had changed. The stakes had escalated, but the mission remained. Expose the conspiracy, stop the weapons, save the 200. Everything else was just noise. And Sarah had learned long ago how to filter noise from signal. The convoy approached Coldwater Station, gates opening, guards waiting. Sarah watched it all, recording, planning, waiting for the moment. Because moments came, they always did. And when hers came, she'd be ready. The vehicle stopped, doors open, they pulled her out. Colonel Garrett stood waiting, expression cold, eyes harder than the desert stone. Gunnery Sergeant Cross, we need to talk about your future, or lack thereof. Sarah met his gaze, didn't flinch. Then talk. Garrett smiled. No warmth, no mercy. Oh, I will, and when I'm done, you're going to wish you died in that desert. They led her away, into the base, into the heart of the conspiracy, and somewhere in the darkness, Daniel Reeves watched, planning, preparing, ready to make his move, because this wasn't just about Sarah anymore. This wasn't just about weapons or corruption or choosing sides. This was about two people who had sworn an oath, who'd promised to defend against enemies, foreign and domestic. And right now, the enemy was wearing stars and giving orders. The final pieces were moving into position, the endgame approaching, and when the dust settled, someone would be standing. Someone would be vindicated. Someone would be right. Sarah Cross intended to make sure it was her, no matter what happened next. The interrogation room smelled like concrete and stale air. Sarah Cross sat zip-tied to a metal chair, wrists bound, ankles secured, but her mind remained free, calculating, planning, waiting. Colonel Marcus Garrett stood across from her. Mitchell Kane leaned against the wall. Two contractors flanked the door, all armed, all confident they'd won. Let's make this simple, Garrett said. Where's the evidence? Sarah met his gaze, said nothing. We found your vehicle, found the water tower, searched every inch. Nothing. Garrett pulled up a chair, sat close. But you hid it somewhere, and you're going to tell me where. Am I? You don't have a choice. This room isn't official. This conversation isn't happening. And what happens next depends entirely on how cooperative you decide to be. Sarah understood. Off the books interrogation. No witnesses, no rules. Just pressure and pain until she broke. Except she'd been through worse. Survival training. Resistance to interrogation. 3 weeks in a hole in Afghanistan after her unit got overrun. The Taliban had tried everything. She'd given them nothing. Garrett was amateur hour compared to that. You think silence makes you strong, Garrett said. Makes you heroic, but it just makes you dead. Because that evidence, it doesn't matter. Even if someone finds it, they'll never know what it means. Never connect it to me. Never prove anything. The communications logs prove everything. Your number, your authorization, your partnership with Kane. Circumstantial, easily explained. I was providing operational oversight, working with Kane to ensure mission success. Any lawyer will argue that. Any jury will believe it. Then why are you so worried about the evidence? Garrett's smile faded. I'm not worried. I'm being thorough, eliminating loose ends. And you, Gunnery Sergeant, are a very loose end. Kane stepped forward. Let me handle this. I know how to make Marines talk. No, Garrett stood. We do this clean, professional. She'll cooperate, because the alternative is watching everyone she cares about suffer. Sarah's pulse quickened. You threatening my family? I'm explaining consequences. You have a sister, Colorado, Emily Cross, 2 kids, nice house in Aurora, good life, works at the elementary school, drives a blue Honda, license plate Delta Romeo 7429. The specificity made Sarah's blood freeze. Garrett had details, real intelligence, her sister's name, her car, her exact location. Be a shame if something happened, Garrett continued. An accident, a break-in, the kind of tragedy that makes the news then fades away. Your nephews would grow up without a mother, just like you grew up without parents. Foster care, the system, full circle. Sarah's hands clenched. The zip ties bit into her wrists. Garrett had done his homework, knew about her childhood, knew the wounds that never healed. That's what I thought, Garrett said. You're tough, But nobody's tough enough to watch their family burn. So here's the deal. You tell me where the evidence is. You sign a statement saying you suffered PTSD, went rogue, imagined conspiracies that didn't exist. We process you out. Medical discharge. You go home. Your family stays safe. Everyone wins. Except the people who die when your stolen missiles get used. Acceptable losses. The world runs on acceptable losses. You're a Marine, you understand that. Sarah looked at him. This man who'd sworn the same oath, who'd worn the same uniform, who'd betrayed everything it meant to serve. She made a calculation, bought time. I need proof my sister is safe, right now. Live video call. Garrett smiled. Smart, you want verification before you cooperate. I can arrange that. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Send the team to the Colorado address. Set up surveillance, be ready to stream. Sarah's mind raced. That confirmation told her everything. Garrett had people in Colorado watching her sister, ready to act. But it also told her something else. They hadn't moved yet. Emily was still safe, still unaware. If Sarah could stall, if she could wait for Daniel, if rescue came before Garrett's patience ran out, her sister would survive. Call will take 30 minutes to set up, Garrett said. Colorado is 2 time zones away. My team needs to get in position. So while we wait, let's talk about what happens after you cooperate. The medical discharge, the quiet retirement, the life you get to live. Sarah said nothing, just counted seconds, 30 minutes. She needed to survive 30 minutes. The door exploded inward. Flashbang grenade, blinding light, deafening sound. The room filled with smoke and chaos. Sarah threw herself sideways, chair and all, hit the ground, rolled. Gunfire erupted. Controlled bursts, professional. Not Kane's team, someone else. Through the smoke, Sarah saw figures. 4 operators, military gear, night vision, moving with precision, taking down the contractors, securing the room. One operator reached Sarah, cut her restraints, pulled her to her feet. Move, now. She recognized the voice. Daniel Reeves. My sister, Sarah gasped. Colorado. Garrett has people watching her. Handled. FBI en route. She's being moved to protective custody right now. General's orders. Relief flooded through Sarah. Daniel had thought ahead, protected the vulnerability Garrett would exploit. They ran out of the interrogation room, into the corridor, alarms shrieking, lights flashing. Daniel's team provided cover, laying down suppressive fire, covering their exit. How did you get in? Sarah asked as they ran. General Reeves' authority. She issued emergency orders, suspected unlawful detention of service member, authorized immediate rescue by any available forces. We walked through the front gate with paperwork. Garrett will claim you had no authority. He can claim whatever he wants. We have video of him threatening your family, audio of the interrogation, every word recorded and transmitted. He's done. They burst through an emergency exit, into the night. A vehicle waited, engine running. Sarah dove into the back seat. Daniel climbed in beside her. The driver hit the accelerator. They rocketed away from the base. Behind them, muzzle flashes, rounds punching through the vehicle's rear window. But the driver knew evasive techniques, serpentine patterns. Using terrain, they broke contact within 2 minutes. Sarah caught her breath, looked at Daniel. You broke me out. Technically, I liberated a wrongfully detained service member. That's treason. That's duty. Daniel handed her a rifle. And we're not done yet. Sarah checked the weapon. Loaded. Ready. Where are we going? To finish this the right way. 30 minutes later, they sat in a safe house 20 miles from Coldwater. Daniel's team secured the perimeter. 4 operators Sarah didn't recognize, all wearing no insignia, no identification. Who are they? Sarah asked. People who believe in doing the right thing, even when it costs everything. Daniel pulled up a laptop. After Garrett confined me, I made calls, reached out to contacts, people I've worked with over the years, people who know corruption when they see it. You built a team. I borrowed a team. They're on leave. Officially. Unofficially, they're helping us expose a conspiracy. Daniel opened files on the screen. But we need more than the evidence you downloaded. We need Garrett to incriminate himself. On record. Undeniable. He'll never confess. He already did. The interrogation, threatening your family, admitting to eliminating loose ends, describing the conspiracy as acceptable losses. All recorded, all admissible. Sarah felt something shift. You recorded the whole thing? Every second, micro cameras, audio devices. Your zip tie restraints had transmitters woven in. Everything Garrett said is documented, time-stamped, uploaded to secure servers. Daniel's expression hardened. He thought he was operating off the books, but we put him on the record without him knowing. That's entrapment. That's evidence gathering. He made the threats. He detailed the conspiracy. He did it voluntarily while believing he had total control. No entrapment, just documentation. Sarah saw the elegance of it. Daniel had turned Garrett's confidence into his downfall. But we still need to finish it, Daniel continued. Bunker 6, where this started, where we're going to end it. Sarah studied the tactical map he pulled up. That's the heart of the base, maximum security. Even with your team, we can't assault it. We're not assaulting anything. We're walking in, front door, with authorization. From who? Daniel smiled. From the one person Garrett can't refuse. His superior. He pulled up an email. Sender, General Catherine Reeves, CENTCOM. Sarah read it, felt her chest tighten. Your mother? Retired general, but still carries weight. I explained the situation. Sent her the evidence you downloaded. She made calls, pulled strings, and as of 1 hour ago, she's authorized a special inspection of Coldwater Station, specifically Bunker 6, specifically the weapons inventory. Garrett will know it's a trap. He'll know it's checkmate, because if he refuses the inspection, he confirms guilt. If he allows it, we inventory the weapons, count them, prove the discrepancy. Either way, he loses. Sarah saw the beauty of it, the elegant simplicity. But he still has Kane, still has contractors. They'll fight, which is why we're giving them a way out. Daniel pulled up another file. I contacted the CIA, explained that Coldwater Protocol has been compromised, that Kane's theft threatens the entire operation, that they need to extract their asset immediately before this goes public. What did they say? They're extracting, right now. Emergency protocols. The asset will be safe within 6 hours, which means we can expose Garrett without killing 200 people. Sarah felt something release in her chest. The weight she'd been carrying, the impossible choice between stopping corruption and protecting innocence. Daniel had found the third option, the one she couldn't see. When do we move, she asked. Dawn, we give CIA time to extract, then we go in, formal, legal, with authority that even Garrett can't ignore. Sarah checked her rifle. He'll try to destroy evidence, sanitize everything. Let him try. The evidence you hid in the water tower is our insurance. Even if he scrubs every file, we have backup. We need to recover it first, before Garrett finds it. Daniel nodded. Already done. I sent a team while they were interrogating you. The drive is secure, uploaded to encrypted servers, multiple locations, Congressional Oversight Committee, Department of Defense Inspector General. Copies everywhere Garrett can't reach. Sarah stared at him. You've been 3 steps ahead this whole time. I've been learning from a Marine who thinks 5 steps ahead. Daniel's expression softened. You did the hard part, saw the corruption, stood up, refused to back down. I just finished what you started. We finish it together. Together. They spent the next 4 hours preparing, planning, rehearsing every contingency. Sarah briefed Daniel's team on Bunker 6 layout, approach routes, choke points, defensive positions. These operators were good, Special Forces background, the kind who'd run missions in places that didn't exist, who understood that sometimes the mission required operating outside normal channels. As dawn approached, Sarah found herself thinking about the path that led here. The choice to disobey orders, the decision to trust Daniel, the risk of everything for truth. In training, they taught you to follow orders, trust the chain of command, believe the system worked. But they also taught you the oath, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Sometimes those enemies wore stars, gave orders, hid behind authority. And when that happened, you had to choose. System or oath, orders or conscience. Sarah had chosen, and whatever came next, she'd live with that choice. Dawn broke over Coldwater Station, red sun climbing over desert mountains. Beautiful, deceptive. The convoy approached the main gate. 3 vehicles, military configuration, official markings, General Reeves's authorization transmitted ahead. The gate guards checked credentials, verified authorization codes, looked nervous. Colonel Garrett is expecting you, one guard said. He's in the command center. We'll proceed directly to Bunker 6, Daniel replied, per the inspection order. Sir, Colonel Garrett requested you meet with him first. Noted. Tell him we're conducting the inspection now. He can join us if he wishes. The guard hesitated, then stepped aside. The gate opened. The convoy rolled through, moved toward Bunker 6. Sarah rode in the second vehicle, rifle ready, watching for threats. The base looked normal, personnel going about duties, no indication of crisis. But Sarah saw the signs. Extra security, elevated alert posture, guards with weapons at ready. Garrett knew they were coming, and he was prepared. The convoy stopped outside Bunker 6. Daniel's team exited, formed a security perimeter. Professional, legal, everything by the book. Daniel approached the bunker door, used his credentials. The lock engaged, door opened. Inside, lights blazed. The bunker sat empty, no crates, no weapons, nothing. Sarah entered behind Daniel, scanned the space, saw scuff marks on the floor. Fresh, recent, where crates had been dragged. They moved everything, she said. Expected. Daniel pulled out a tablet. But they can't hide the inventory records. The system tracks every weapon, every movement, every discrepancy. He accessed the database, pulled up Bunker 6 inventory. The screen loaded. 0 items. Bunker empty. According to official records, there had never been 20 Javelin missiles. Never been anything here except routine storage. Sarah felt cold spread through her. They scrubbed it. The whole database. Surface level, yes. Daniel typed commands. But military systems have redundancy, backup servers, archive logs. You can delete current files, but you can't erase history. He pulled up archived records from 3 days ago, before the convoy intercept, before Sarah's discovery. The inventory showed 20 Javelin missiles, serial numbers, acquisition dates, storage location. Then he pulled up yesterday's archive, showed 12 missiles, 8 removed, no documentation of where they went. There's your proof, Daniel said. 8 weapons vanished from inventory without authorization. And only 3 people had access to modify these records: Kane, Garrett, and the system administrator. Who's the administrator? Garrett appointed position, a contractor named Ellis, works directly for Garrett. Sarah remembered Ellis, bunker guard, the one who'd been pulled from duty the night Kane moved the weapons. They built their conspiracy carefully, Daniel continued. Multiple redundancies, plausible deniability. But they made one mistake. They assumed nobody would look at the archive logs. Footsteps echoed outside, multiple personnel, moving with purpose. Garrett appeared in the doorway, Kane beside him, 8 armed contractors behind them. Colonel Reeves, Gunnery Sergeant Cross, you're both under arrest, unauthorized entry, theft of military property, conspiracy to compromise national security. Daniel didn't move. We have authorization, General Reeves' inspection order. Rescinded, as of 20 minutes ago. You're operating without legal authority, which makes this an armed intrusion. Check your email, Colonel, the one that came in 5 minutes ago, from the Senate Armed Services Committee. Garrett frowned, pulled out his phone, checked. His face went pale. That's a congressional subpoena, Daniel said calmly, ordering you to preserve all evidence related to Coldwater Protocol, ordering you to provide full access to investigators, ordering you to cease any actions that might constitute obstruction, and informing you that this bunker is now under congressional oversight. Every word spoken here is being recorded and transmitted in real time. Garrett looked around, saw the small cameras Daniel's team had placed, saw the audio devices, saw the trap closing. This proves nothing, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. It proves you deleted inventory records. It proves 8 missiles disappeared without authorization. It proves you confined a base XO who was investigating the discrepancy. Daniel stepped closer. And it proves you threatened a Marine's family to coerce silence. We have video, audio, your exact words, describing her sister's car, her license plate, her location, ordering surveillance, all while holding her in unlawful detention. Garrett's jaw clenched. Kane was running an authorized operation. I provided oversight. The weapons movement was approved. Then show me the approval documentation. It's classified. Not anymore. Coldwater has been briefed to the Oversight Committee. Everything's declassified for purposes of the investigation. So show me, right now, the written authorization for moving 20 Javelin missiles when the operation only called for 12. Silence. Garrett said nothing. You can't, Daniel pressed, because it doesn't exist. Because you and Kane stole 8 weapons, planned to sell them, got caught, and now you're trying to cover it up by arresting the people who exposed you. That's a lie. Then explain the bank account. The one in the Cayman Islands, The one that received $2 million from an unknown Middle Eastern source. The same account linked to your personal email. Garrett's face went white. How did you? He stopped, realized he'd just confirmed it. Sarah watched the moment. The instant where Garrett understood he'd lost, where the lies crumbled and truth stood naked. You weren't supposed to find that, Garrett whispered. We found everything, Sarah said. Every communication, every payment, every piece of your conspiracy, and it's all documented, uploaded beyond your reach. Kane moved, fast, weapon rising, aimed at Sarah. Enough. Everyone here dies. We sanitize the scene. Blame it on Cross's rogue operation. Daniel's team reacted. Weapons trained on Kane. Standoff. 8 guns on both sides. One wrong move, and everyone died. Think about this, Kane, Daniel said. You shoot, and you guarantee life in prison. Stand down and you might cut a deal. Testify against Garrett. Claim you were following orders. I don't make deals. Everyone makes deals when the alternative is a firing squad. Kane's finger tightened on the trigger. Sarah saw it, the microsecond before he fired. She moved. Dove right. Kane's round went wide, punched through the bunker wall. Daniel's team opened fire. Controlled bursts, precision shots. Not to kill, to disable. Rounds hit weapons, hands, shoulders, taking down threats without executions. Kane went down, clutching his arm. His weapon skittered across the floor. The contractors dropped their rifles, raised hands, surrendered. Garrett stood frozen, watching his conspiracy die in gunfire and blood. It's over, Daniel said. No more lies, no more cover-ups, just truth and consequences. Garrett looked at him, at Sarah, at the operator securing his team, and something broke. The facade, the authority, the pretense. You don't understand, he said quietly. The system is broken. Good people die while bureaucrats debate. Missions fail while lawyers argue. So yes, I took shortcuts. Yes, I skimmed resources. But I did it to fund operations that save American lives. Operations that people like you will never know about. That's not your call to make, Sarah said. You don't get to decide which laws apply, which rules matter. You swore an oath, same as me, same as everyone in this room, and you broke it for the greater good. There is no greater good that justifies corruption. No mission important enough to betray everything you promised to defend. Garrett stared at her. You're naive, idealistic. You think honor and duty matter. But in the real world, only results matter. Only winning matters. Then you lost, Sarah said, because results don't include prison time and dishonor. Don't include betraying your oath for money. Don't include becoming the enemy you swore to fight. Garrett had no response, just stood there, defeated, broken. Military police arrived. Daniel had called them before entering the bunker. Backup, legal authority, everything documented. They read Garrett his rights, secured him in restraints, led him away. Kane followed, along with the contractors, all heading toward detention, toward courts-martial, toward justice. Sarah watched them go, felt the weight lifting, the mission complete. Daniel stood beside her. You did it. Exposed the conspiracy, stopped the weapons, protected the operation. We did it together. Together. They exited the bunker, walked into sunlight. The base continued functioning. Personnel at their posts, the machine grinding on. But something had changed. A crack in the facade, a reminder that even in systems built on honor, corruption could take root. And that stopping it required people willing to stand up, to disobey when orders were wrong, to risk everything for truth. 3 weeks later, Sarah Cross sat in a conference room at the Pentagon. General Catherine Reeves across from her, Daniel beside her, congressional staffers taking notes. The investigation had moved with unusual speed. Overwhelming evidence, high-profile case, congressional pressure, media attention forcing transparency, courts, martial proceedings already begun. Garrett and Kane both in custody, awaiting trial, the 8 stolen missiles recovered from a warehouse in Tijuana, the buyer arrested, the network exposed. Coldwater Protocol had survived, the CIA asset extracted safely. 200 operatives still secure, the larger mission protected even as the corruption was cut out. General Reeves reviewed her notes. Gunnery Sergeant Cross, you violated direct orders, disobeyed your chain of command, went rogue in pursuit of what you believed was right. Yes, ma'am. Under normal circumstances, that would result in court-martial. Dishonorable discharge. Prison time. Sarah nodded. She knew the consequences. But these aren't normal circumstances, General Reeves continued. Your actions, while technically illegal, exposed a conspiracy that threatened national security, prevented American weapons from reaching terrorist hands, and protected 200 intelligence assets. She closed the folder. The recommendation from this committee is full exoneration. Return to active duty with commendation, and a formal apology from the Department of Defense for the attempts to silence your legitimate concerns. Sarah felt something release in her chest: relief, validation, justice. However, General Reeves added, you need to understand something. What you did only works once. The system tolerated your disobedience because you were right, because the evidence was overwhelming, because the conspiracy was real. But if you make a habit of going rogue every time you disagree with orders, the system will crush you. I understand, ma'am. Do you? Because the line between following conscience and causing chaos is thin, and crossing it requires absolute certainty that you're right. Can you live with that burden? Can you make that call again if needed? Sarah thought about it, about the fear, the isolation, the moment when everything depended on her being right. I hope I never have to, she said honestly. But if I do, I'll make the same choice. General Reeves smiled, slight, approving. Good, the military needs people who think, who question, who refuse to blindly follow when orders violate the oath. Just don't make it a habit. She turned to Daniel. Colonel Reeves, you aided an unauthorized operator, violated protocol, assembled an off-books team. Your actions were completely inappropriate. Daniel nodded. Yes, ma'am. They were also exactly what I would have done. General Reeves' expression softened. You're my son, but you're also an officer I'm proud of. Someone who understands that doing the right thing sometimes means doing the hard thing. The committee recommends your retention and promotion to full colonel, effective immediately. Daniel's eyes widened. Ma'am, I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep being the kind of officer who makes the military better, who holds us to the standards we claim to uphold. That's all I ask. Yes, ma'am. The meeting concluded. Sarah and Daniel exited the Pentagon, stepped into Virginia sunlight. A staffer approached Sarah, handed her a phone. Secure call, your sister. Sarah took the phone. Emily? Sarah, her sister's voice, relieved. Alive. Safe. The FBI just released me from protective custody. They said you saved my life, that someone was planning to hurt me and the boys. You're safe now. That's what matters. What happened? They wouldn't tell me anything. Long story, I'll explain when I see you. But you're protected. The threat is gone. You can go home. When will I see you? Sarah looked at Daniel, at the Pentagon, at the path ahead. Soon, I promise. But I have work to finish first. Always the Marine. Always your sister. I love you. Love you too. Sarah ended the call, handed back the phone. The weight she'd carried for 3 weeks finally lifted completely. Daniel waited. Family safe? Family safe. What now, he asked. Back to my unit. Back to normal. Whatever that means after all this. Think you can go back to normal? Sarah considered. I don't know, you? Honestly, no. I've seen what corruption looks like at the highest levels. Seen how easy it is for good people to justify bad actions. I can't unsee that. So what will you do? Daniel stopped, looked at her. General Reeves mentioned something before this meeting. There's a position opening. Inspector General's office, investigating fraud, waste, and abuse across the military. They need people who aren't afraid to ask hard questions, who will go after corruption regardless of rank. Sounds like you. It sounds like us. They're looking for a team, officer and senior enlisted, someone who knows regulations and someone who knows how operations actually work. He paused. Interested? Sarah thought about going back to her unit, to routine, to pretending the last month hadn't changed her. She thought about the mission, about exposing corruption, about making the system actually live up to its ideals. When do we start? She asked. Daniel smiled. Monday. 6 months later, Sarah Cross sat in her office. Inspector General Investigation Division. Cases stacked on her desk, each one a potential conspiracy, a possible abuse of power, a chance to make the system better. The work was hard, political, dangerous in different ways, but it mattered. Her phone buzzed. Message from an unknown number. She opened it, read the words twice. Different operation, different conspiracy, same problem. Interested? Location attached. Sarah stared at the message, at the coordinates, at the invitation to step back into the shadows. She should delete it, report it, follow protocol. Instead, she forwarded it to Daniel with one word. Thoughts? His response came 30 seconds later. Already packed. Sarah smiled, closed her laptop, grabbed her go bag, because some fights never ended. Some battles required constant vigilance, and some people were built to stand in the gap between what was supposed to happen and what actually happened. She was one of those people, and she just found her calling. The sun set over Washington, D.C., painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Another day ending, another night beginning. Somewhere in the darkness, corruption festered, power corrupted, good people made bad choices. But somewhere else, two people climbed into a vehicle, headed toward coordinates they didn't recognize, toward a mission that didn't officially exist, ready to ask the questions nobody wanted answered, ready to expose the truths nobody wanted revealed, ready to do what others wouldn't. Because that's what oaths required, what duty demanded, what honor meant. Not blind obedience, not unquestioning loyalty, but the courage to stand up, the strength to refuse, the certainty to know when orders were wrong and the will to disobey them. Sarah Cross had learned that lesson in the desert, had paid the price, had earned the right. And now she'd spend the rest of her career teaching others, one investigation at a time, one conspiracy at a time, one corrupt officer at a time, until the system actually lived up to its promise, or until they silenced her permanently. Either way, she'd chosen her path, and she'd walk it to the end. The vehicle disappeared into traffic, into the city, into the mission. And the story continued, because some stories don't end. They just find new chapters, new battles, new enemies, new reasons to fight. Sarah Cross had found hers, and she wasn't stopping until the fight was won, or until there was nothing left to fight for, whichever came first. The lights of Washington faded behind her. Ahead, only darkness, impossibility, and the next mission waiting to be discovered. She drove toward it, without hesitation, without fear, with the certainty of someone who'd looked corruption in the eye and refused to blink. Someone who'd chosen truth over comfort, justice over career, oath over orders. Someone who'd learned the hardest lesson, that sometimes the greatest courage isn't in taking the shot. It's in refusing to take the shot everyone expects, in standing alone when everyone else stands together, in being right when being right costs everything. Sarah Cross had learned that lesson, and she'd never forget it. The mission continued, and she was ready.